the Disabilities Board to order. Also, I want to thank everybody who came yesterday for the workshop. Mary Ellen, could you please do the notice of the meeting statement, please?
The news release announcing the date, time, and place of the August 17, 2017 commission meeting was mailed August 14, 2017 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the SCDDSN Central Administrative Office, video conference locations, and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Katie, could you do the invitation, please?
Of course. Everybody bow your heads. Loving Father, thank you for the opportunity to come and gather this morning. We ask your hand of blessing on this meeting. We ask that you guide and direct our meeting so it's full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work and goals on behalf of the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs and its consumers. Amen.
And I'd like to introduction of guests. I want to start at the front, so the last person who comes in that door when he comes in. Okay. Thank you.
I'm Bob Jones with the Newberry DSN Board.
Honey Gowan from the Newberry Disabilities Board.
I'm Sandy Farr from the Newberry Disabilities Board.
John Matthew, DSN.
Dave Michael from the Charleston County Disability Board.
Marcia Michael, mother of Kate Michael. Margie Williamson, Arca, South Carolina. And Joyce Davis, Brain Injury Association, South Carolina.
Angela Rodriguez, South Carolina Spinal Cord Injury Association.
Good morning, Kathleen Rogers, Wooden Center Parents Club, and South Carolina PAD, and parent of 2 children that were served by the DSN for 31 years.
Linda Lee, president of Witten Center Parents Club, member of South Carolina PAD. My daughter was at Witten Center for a long, long time.
Terry Todd from Bright Start.
Jerry Mize from Oconee DSN Board.
Good morning, Mike Keith, Marion Villa, DSN.
Tina Ryan-Humans, DDSN Office.
Richard Johnson, president of Fashion Garden Association, Coastal Center, on behalf of Son Head.
Mrs. Johnson, I'm Suzanne, who is the Parents and Guardians of South Carolina PAD. Our son's been there since 1983.
I'm Ray Miller with the South Carolina DD Council.
Tim Smith, Ringgold News.
Dorothy Good with the Community Options.
Mike Moss, Calvin County Disabilities and Special Needs Board.
Ian Paul, DDSN.
Good morning, Kevin McCoy, DSN.
Stephen Rockholz, USC School of Medicine.
I'm Brittany Bigger with Chester Mines Board.
Dexter Alston, DSN.
Sam Project Hope Foundation serving the Robinson Community.
Jerry Bernard, Charles Dusson.
Joe White, Cherokee County DSN.
Morning Rawls, DDSN.
Amy Davenport, Adult Protective Services Commission of the County of PAD.
Daniel Davis, Autism Division.
Judy Johnson, Back Center. Lisa Weeks, DDSN.
Chad Warner, DSN.
Pat Manley, DSN.
Sherry Crushing with my South Carolina.
Kathy Morton, Protection and Advocacy for People with Disabilities.
And Connor Schisler from Aging Legislature.
Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So
Second. Second. All those in favor? Approval of the minutes of July 20th. Can I have a motion to approve those? Are there any?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public input. Linda Lee, please.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to speak for a minute. I wanted to first say a few things have been happening at Witten Center. We're surviving this long hot summer. Even with the heat, we've been able to get residents out a little bit. They've enjoyed some music on the square in Clinton. In fact, Thursday night, the Swinging Medallions will be there. So, we, were able to go and take our daughter to see Too Much Sylvia a couple weeks ago, and she rocked the whole night with me. But, and we have some hymn singings. Our chaplain has been able to do some, I think he had one last night. So a lot of music, a lot of things that we can do in the evenings or when the weather's not extremely hot. I want to take a second. Coastal Center is having their annual golf tournament the 26th on Saturday. Next Saturday a week. So I wanted to share a little plug with them. And then Witten Center is going to have their annual pace run on Friday, September 3rd, Saturday, September 30th. Let me go. I'll be working on Friday. Saturday, September 30th. And I'm passing out some flyers so that y'all have the information. And anybody interested can go to active.com and register, or see me and I'll get some registration forms. And would you put this out in the building somewhere? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Connie Gallman and Cindy Fair.
Oh. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm here to talk about community engagement. It was March the 3rd. We changed the name from Disability Advocacy Day to community engagement to have the people from different businesses and our community get together so they'll realize that people with disabilities, like normal people, wants to get a job out in the community and live and do such things as regular people do. So community engagement was a good day. It was nice weather. I'm so glad it wasn't cold. So it was a good crowd there, and everybody enjoyed themselves and learned a lot of things, what was going on, and met the legislators. And I gave the torch over to Self-Advocate of the Year to Tate Michael. So he's the new Self-Advocate of the Year, and he was there to speak. So if you would, I would like to introduce Tate Michael from Charleston Disability Board. So Tate, congratulations being the new Self-Advocate of the Year in South Carolina.
Unfortunately, I found so often in many disabilities that so many do not have a voice of their own to speak about what they need or what they want in life. So I try to speak as much as I can, not just for brain injury survivors like myself, but for all disabilities, to try and gain as much as I can for everyone that I can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is that okay with you, Tate?
Yes.
Okay. You all? Yeah, yeah. Now call each other. All right, perfect. Oh, let me zoom in again. Sorry, I lost it. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I started on. Look, you even match them too.
We did this on purpose. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
married June 24th.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Gary LaMelle, could you speak about the Finance and Audit Committee?
Yes, the Finance and Audit Committee met yesterday prior to the General Committee workshop. Had a number of items on the agenda. First up was the review of the Finance and Audit Charter. That's the first thing in tab 3. The last time that was reviewed was in September of 2015, and pursuant to that charter, it's supposed to be periodically reviewed by the committee to see if there needs to be any updates or changes. There were no updates or changes recommended by staff or by the members of the committee, and so we are recommending to the commission as a whole to approve the charter in its current format without any changes or amendments. And so we would make a motion on behalf, I would make a motion on behalf of the committee to approve that charter in its current form.
Okay. Do you have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, y'all gotta watch me now. I forgot the commissioners out there. Do we have any, nope. Boy, it's the summer, can y'all tell? All right, can I?
Got a couple other things.
Go.
Going back, the second item on the agenda for the Finance and Audit Committee was a review of the audit activity plan. We reviewed what was done in fiscal year 2017 and planned for 2018. This was an informational review, just keeping us advised about that. There's no action needed on the part of the commission, but we are keeping an eye on that audit plan to make sure that we're meeting those goals. The last item on the agenda has been an ongoing one, which was the process that we put in place for financial sanctions for repeat internal audit findings. Y'all recall where we were at the last commission meeting, that we had reached certain decision points in terms of how we want to proceed and sort of the monetary value of this. And we had requested that feedback be requested from the provider network. And so we had quite a few providers respond back to that with regard to their thoughts on that plan. We really appreciate that feedback. Based upon that feedback and the work that we've done on this plan over the last several months, the committee basically resolved the following: that pursuant to internal audit findings, a financial sanction by way of a contract withhold is only applicable as to repeat findings as related to health, safety, and welfare. Again, the intent here is for not teeny tiny things, we're missing a knob on a set of chest of drawers to apply, but it's actually findings as to health, safety, and welfare where this is applied to. The sanction will only apply when a follow-up audit is conducted and finds the accepted corrective action was not implemented. That would be the first follow-up. The provider would then be given notice and be allowed 90 days to implement the agreed upon corrective action. If then in a subsequent audit, that would be the third visit, the corrective action plan was not being implemented, at that point in time, the provider would receive the financial sanction. The financial sanction would be in the amount of $500. We debated trying to make that a sliding scale or various rates. Basically, we believe that the amount of $500 was appropriate across the board as a fixed fee. There will be an appeals process that would be available to any provider who is assessed a sanction. They would have 30 days with which to file an appeal, and then that appeal will be heard within 30 days. The Finance and Audit Committee recommends that the Appeals Committee membership would include 2 DDSN staff members, 2 community providers, with the intent being that each provider association would be requested to provide a person to serve on that appeals board, and then we would solicit 1 consumer or family member from the community to also sit on that appeals board. Once appointed, the appeals committee would decide among the membership who would be named as chair, and those members would serve for 2-year terms. The other thing that we decided was that I, as chair, would include a statement of intent with regard to the use of these sanctions. As we've discussed here in public many times, These sanctions were designed and developed at the behest of the legislature. They wanted to see us have this particular item as part of what the commission was doing as part of oversight. There was a strong desire on the part of everyone involved, both staff and the committee, to prevent this from turning into a generalized sanctionable, oppositional kind of environment. It's simply something that the legislature said we needed to have in place. So it's my intent to include a statement of intent with the policy. I will be typing that up and submitting it, and would ask that at the next commission meeting that that's reviewed, and if approved by the commission as a whole, be added in there for not necessarily so much the people who are serving on this commission now, but if somebody's doing this in 5 years or 10 years, they have some idea about what the intent was behind this policy when there's nobody here right now potentially serving at that point in time to interpret the way this policy came about and what its intent is. So I'll be typing that up, and we'll submit that for approval to the commission at the next meeting to then be included. But we would make a motion in advance of that to approve the other parts of the policy that I just outlined.
Anything else to report?
No, would make a motion though, as on behalf of the committee, to approve that.
At this time?
That is not. That's not. That's no.
Okay, that's second.
Second on the motion.
All those.
And
Doesn't need a second because it came from committee.
Right.
Do you have any discussion here?
Yeah, I would like to just make a comment on this. And I didn't get to the finance committee in time to train, get me to be in there, but, you know, the legislature, my understanding in conversations was to make this about health and safety. We stretched it into welfare and made it an internal audit finding. My concern is that the internal audit system that we have in place every couple of years, maybe we look at 10% of the people that we're auditing, every provider and every staff knows that there are announced visits. And so far in debit card debt, we are 0 for 2. We didn't catch any in Anderson, we didn't catch any in Martinsburg. This, what we're doing here, I don't think is going to make any difference whatsoever to the problems that we're having in people being exploited. That is going to have to become coming from an internal audit system within each agency that they're probably not even required to have. And so we need to look at that, because that those unannounced visits when I was a provider is the way that I caught theft. So, you know, they don't know when you're coming, they don't know when you're gonna look in the cash box. Those are the kind of things we have to, because the whole point around this thing was to protect people. Now, health and safety issues are like, if you don't have the right staff-client ratio that you're supposed to have in a house, and then you come back and you're audited again, they find that same problem somewhere else that is a systemic problem, like has occurred with the one that's frozen right now, then that's where accidents are going to happen, when you have inadequate staff to take care of people. If you have people out there giving medication and they have not received med tech training, that is the kind of thing that we need to be looking for. And if it happens more than once, that's the kind of thing that a fine needs to be assessed for. If you have somebody who's supposed to be receiving a behavior support plan and they're not, because the person that's taking care of them hasn't been trained in that behavior support plan, that is why our aggression is going up. I think it is why we have more assaults. We have more critical incidents related to behavior. So I'm not sure that what we're doing here is meeting the intent of what we started out to do. So, you know, I want to keep that in mind, and I would ask that you review this in 6 months, a year, whenever, and just see, is this actually producing a better outcome? If it's not, and we still need to go back and look at I think we need to look at the health and safety thing. I don't think the internal audit is gonna, you know, if somebody doesn't have a receipt for a $10 TV they bought in a jockey lot, and, you know, you find another situation like that, I don't know that that's gonna keep people from being exploited. So I just wanted to make that statement.
And I agree 100%, we need to review it. I guess it's more of a time frame thing, because under sort of the current, we're not gonna have anybody even get to the second notice until the second audit, and that's gonna be a period way beyond 6 months. I mean, it may be they have the first audit, they may not have that follow-up audit for 12 months after that. You know?
I think we'll have enough incidents if we don't do anything about what's going on right now, that we'll see that, you know, we still gotta go back and look at health and safety.
And
I mean, I don't want that to be the case, I just think it will be because we are not addressing health and safety. I just wanna keep people safe.
And I think that's probably a good thing for us to take up in the finance committee, this question of our internal audits. I don't necessarily our internal audits are meant to catch everything, but what it's really meant to test is the individual body that's being audited, are there protections in place to prevent things like credit card fraud and things of that nature. But that's a good thing for us to take to the finance committee to make sure that we're actually addressing, that what our audits are doing, we're actually trying to address that question. I agree 100%. But there's the finance committee taking on that.
I agree with Vicki about the need for, meaningful oversight. But is my memory correct that when we established or set up your charge to begin doing what your committee has done, that we also said that's the first step that can be taken within the current structures and systems that we have? It doesn't mean that it's going to be all that we do. It's the first step. So,
Yeah,
I
made that same objection back then.
okay. So I think it's good to get reminded.
Yeah,
Now and then, but
And I would remind that you guys approved changes to the QIO contract compliance, which gets more at how services are delivered and some of those examples, which is a parallel process to internal audit. So we've also made some changes there, not financial sanction changes. So maybe that's the next step for the body to consider. But there have been steps in that direction as well that you guys have recently approved.
And in general, again, we've always said that financial sanctions are not favored by, I don't think, anybody on this commission. And same thing was said by staff at the committee meeting. That's not, we're not trying to turn this into a sanctional oppositional kind of relationship. This is just simply something that the legislature said they wanted us to have that sort of sanction in place.
so we did.
We have the first step,
Yeah.
and I agree with you 100%. We do, we've addressed what the legislature told us to put in place, I think. But it's far from the only step we should take. My opinion.
Any other discussion?
May I ask a question?
Sure. Discussion.
With regards to when to implement, I want to make sure that staff are clear as far as, would it be with any initial audits starting with this fiscal year, i.e. fiscal year, 17, 18, or are we starting with follow-ups this year? I just want to make sure that the expectations and the understanding is clear for everyone.
We did not discuss that.
That's why I started.
It would appear to me that it would make sense to start with initial audits this year as opposed to follow-ups, but that's just my gut reaction, confirming it firsthand. But
You want to amend to put in the starting date?
if the commission wants to, I will do so. I would like to amend the motion to approve the policy to include that its starting date is effective with this fiscal year with initial audits, not follow-up audits.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, anything else?
That's all from the finance committee.
Okay. State director report.
Okay. I want to start off by thanking some of the locations that helped DDSN with some of our public input and stakeholder input sessions with regards to our budget request that happened in between July's commission meeting and now. I want to make sure I thank Coastal Center And we have two of the parents that I think did a lot of the heavy lifting back there, so thank you. Greenville County Council was nice enough to let us use their space, so we're very appreciative. PD Center, and last but not least, Aiken DSN Board Tri-Development Center allowed us to use one of their spaces as well. So I want to acknowledge that and say thank you for that. Making sure everybody has a date on their calendar. The House Legislative Oversight Committee has set a date for the next hearing for DDSN. It is Monday, September 18th at 10 a.m. I believe the subject matter will basically be a detailed overview of the DDSN system and the services provided and how we're organized. We are also going through Senate oversight. It is my understanding that the staff associated with that hopes to have a draft by this fall. So on that report, so we'll give you an update on that. Wanted to let people know that September is Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month, and their color is green. So asking the commissioners and audience members to wear green. Apparently, I'm up ahead for next month, but I'll obviously send out a memo reminding you guys of that. Also, earlier this week on Tuesday, we held a couple meetings with providers with regards to upcoming changes on residential HAB standards. This was a little while in the making. We've heard feedback from providers and to some degree families for a while in our state and nationwide. We also have a supply and demand issue with the number of behavioral support professionals and how that is defined currently within the Medicaid system. So there was a cooperative effort upon request from providers and then us working through DHHS, because it ultimately required their approval, to include as part of the residential habilitation standards some behavioral supports. And that will allow an additional cohort of professionals to provide that service that cannot provide it in the in-home definition of waiver supports for someone who does not live in a residential setting. So within the residential HAB settings, it's expanding it to allow master's degree professionals such as behavioral analysts, psychologists, special ed, or other closely related fields, if they have the minimum experience and the educational credit to do that, to provide that service within a residential habilitation. It will also allow the residential habilitation provider to have a little bit more of the direct supervision component of how that service is provided, and most importantly, incorporated into that residential setting. And so that's a pretty significant change. We held two meetings on Tuesday, kind of a Q&A and webinar for those providers. One meeting was targeted at the residential providers. Another meeting was targeted at behavioral, intense behavioral supports providers that will be able to do that within residential HAB. Now, the people who currently qualify for behavioral supports in the community setting can also do it in residential HAB. So we're not cutting that. We're just expanding it, the population of clinical professionals that can provide that. So that was a little while coming, but a good cooperative effort between the various stakeholders, families, providers, and DHHS to get that approval. So it will go into effect October 1st. On January 1st, it will begin the period of time that those different components of the behavioral intervention and how it's implemented on January 1st. And then on July 1st of 2018 is when it will be added to the QIO contract compliance review, so that they can go back and start looking at it. The period of time that they will look at it will only be starting with January 1st. So we're giving providers a little bit of time to ramp up and work out the kinks and those types of things before we review. So that's the timeline. There was a memo sent out about that a week and a half ago, I guess, and then the two webinars and meetings and PowerPoints. And as far as commission, I know Chairman Ravenel had asked to see those PowerPoints. I just forwarded that to you guys this morning after Tuesday's meeting. And that is what I have. Great, thank you very much.
Question. On that last thing you were talking about shifting the ban, I mean, obviously a big part of the problem is having qualified, and I mean, we've heard multiple presentations about the lack of qualified personnel on that. And what we're trying to do here is expand out, if I understand, the people who have the ability to provide those sorts of supports. Mm-hmm. What are we doing to make sure, okay, it's great to expand the pool, but we got to make sure, one, they've got the proper training, and two, they've got the proper funding.
I'm going to let Susan get a little more detail.
Because that would appear to be on our side, that we need to make sure that that's
So for residential habilitation providers have always funded the services for this behavior support through what they get paid for residential habilitation. So this change doesn't add additional expense to them because they already contract directly with these individuals to provide that service. If that helps. Broadening the qualifications of individuals and having the provider determine who provides those services allows them more controls and more connection with the management. But the standards for the service remain the same. And the review is actually more frequent. So for instance, if a provider hired someone with a master's degree in special education and their work samples were good, they looked like they'd be a good candidate, they were doing work, they weren't seeing results, they have a contractual agreement directly with them, they can cancel it. They'll also have an Alliant or a QIO review, it might not be Alliant, that will happen much more frequently than it currently is. So that will, the cycle of controls is much stronger with the residential habilitation provider this way.
And I guess my concern is that the standards are the same. If we're having trouble finding people to provide that service to that standard, I'm a little bit worried about the ability of some of these, our ability to make sure that we're meeting those
It's the
standards.
qualification that, not the standards, that was the challenge, because it was limited to board certified behavior
Right,
analysts.
but we still have to hit those standards, right?
Well, the standards are like the components that build what the person does on a regular basis to get paid for it. And then the qualifications are the degrees. And so what we've changed are the degree requirements or the training requirements of the candidate who can be hired to do it. But the service is still the same because it's still the same service.
Right, I agree.
So
The service is still the same.
The standards wouldn't change because the
Okay.
service needs.
I agree with you, right, I agree with you, the standards shouldn't change, and it's great to have these people here, but what I want to make sure is that we can meet those standards. In other words, what are we doing to make sure that this additional pool of people is giving the proper support to meet those standards? Because one of the problems is you have to have the training to be able to do those standards.
Right.
And have the ability.
We've got a couple facets that I'd be glad to talk about.
Yeah,
If you really want me to go through that now, I'd be glad to.
And I'm sorry, Chair, I don't mean, it may be something that we need to add on. Maybe have to have some additional, I think it's great, anything we do to expend the pool is great, I don't want to derail things.
Some
But
of
I
the
am-
questions may be
but I
answered by
am-
the PowerPoint that I just.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just
That
do
may
one
be-
thing that might not be transparent in the PowerPoint, is that we're scheduling an opportunity for residential habilitation providers to get some more in-depth training on how to be good users of the service because they express the need for that. So that's one leverage point. And then we're also advancing our continuing education kind of relationship with the behavior support providers, or the intensive behavioral intervention providers, so that they continue to develop skills. Because people can improve their behavior analytic skills with training.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are two pieces.
Didn't mean to disrupt.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions? All right, let's go straight to business. The waiting list reduction activities. Susan, that's you.
That's me, just let me catch my breath. So good morning. In tab 4, you have your typical weighted list reduction effort report. In addition, you'll also see that we've provided end-of-year reporting for your review and sales. At this time, in the respect to brevity of the report, I will just take questions. If there are any details you'd like me to review, I'd be glad to do so.
Anybody have any questions? I just would, if you'd like to go over the critical needs, how many we still have on the critical needs list? And just kind of read it out, and then I want us to be mindful of that we still have quite a few people on the critical needs.
Sure. So I guess the first reference point to look at that is the.
No.
You're talking about the individuals on
Yeah,
critical
the last page, which says.
It's in multiple places.
Yeah. I don't want to go over all, I just want to go over the service list, critical needs.
So this the one that looks like this. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages back, I think. Critical need, as of the July 31st number that's 126 individuals that are currently on critical need.
Yes, that's all. I think that's the main thing we need to continue on is that 7/31/17 on the critical needs. We have 126, and for basic development disorder program, we have 1,236. Intellectual disabilities and related disabilities waivers, 7672. Community support waivers, 3554. And I love this number, head and spinal cord injury has 0. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? And if y'all don't know me, this is my bailiwick, and I will talk about it a lot because this is what I think is the main thing we need to know. And David, welcome.
Thank you. Air conditioner went on.
Okay, yes. All right, Tom. Thank you very much.
Tab 5 in your package is your financial reports for July. The first report is the cash balance report for the 4 operating accounts that we manage, and showing the activity in those 4 accounts for rental fund, Medicaid, other operating, and federal restricted funds, and showing at the end the balance, $227 million available in July. Any questions on that report? The next report is the skis report, which analyzes budget versus actual off the skis transactions, statewide accounting system. Standard report we've been showing shows the original budget, the authorized budget that was appropriated by the General Assembly and the Governor on July 1, and showing $747.7 million, and then showing some additional authorization that we received for the FEMA generator grants of that 1.3 million, and then reflecting the new current balance of authorization of $749 million, and showing the expenditures through July of $57.5 million. Okay, and then we have an analysis of the CPIP projects by fiscal year. What this shows is fiscal year 12 through 17. The CPIP projects are still in existence, still going on. They haven't been closed out because the scope of the project has been finished. So in 2012, for example, we have $333,000 of projects that are still in play that have not been fully completed based on the scope. It shows expenditures up through 17, and then shows expenditures in those projects in the fiscal year 17, showing 4.1 million expended previously in those projects, and then 17, 1.7 million expended during the fiscal year 17. There was additional $357,000 spent on projects that were closed out in fiscal year 17 that is not reflected here because those projects are no longer showing on this report. So you're taking 15.54 million, which was the total projects that were still in play, showing us almost $6 million in expenditure. We have a $9.5 million balance in those CPIP projects still in play as of July 1st. As you can see, 6 million of those of that 9.5 million relate to 2016 fiscal year and 2017. And 2017 basically just got approved through the process of state government back in the spring of 2017. So we're making progress. We've closed out all projects over 5 years old. They're gone off the books, and they're now getting to the more current projects and trying to get those finalized. And then the next document is this buyer's report, which just documents in more detail the reports that went over and analyzing the 2 reports tied.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay.
And this is because somebody called me this morning and said, where are we going for the hurricane this year? And I was like, oh, so I see on here that we have statewide emergency generators, 225. How many have gotten, because I know we had some problems with our generators. Are we, all the generators working and running, and everybody who needs a generator, Are
the
they
regional
all-
centers. they're
All the
all-
regional centers, are they all taken care of and
That's right.
everything?
We got one project at Coastal Center where we had a generator that failed.
Right.
In works now. Should
Right,
be completed soon.
okay,
But all other projects are completed. We have auxiliary power at all 5 campuses. And
Okay.
so we have, we're, with the FEMA grant that we are
Right.
working now,
Uh-huh.
we've got 3 that completed of the 23 projects that were identified in that FEMA grant. 3 of them have been finished, Georgetown, Horry, and Florence. So those are finished and those generators are running now. We're working on 4 currently. Babcock's got one over in Batesburg Police that's going on, and then Aiken has one, and then I think it's Colleton and Berkeley, the other 2 that are in the works of this next phase. So they're in the works of getting those done. And then we got a bid out for the next phase. We got 4 more up for the 3rd phase of that project. So those are in process. And those dollars I'm talking about now are not in those projects there. That's a separate FEMA grant that we're working on for the community providers to get those day program facilities generator power. So when we do have a outage, they can at least bring their individuals living in their homes to a more central located building that can house people temporarily 3 or 4 days in an auxiliary unit type thing. So we're working on that. We got 3 completed. We got more to get done, and they probably won't be finished by the hurricane season.
well, it's hurricane season now. It's
Yeah,
gonna be-
so it'll be probably spring of 18 or the early summer of 18 when those projects will be completed. We'll have it done in relation to the FEMA grant.
Okay, but everything on the coast is pretty much taken care of?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, Susan, I'm so sorry, I told you done your last time. Quality assurance data quarterly report.
Yes, ma'am. In tab 6, you have your typical quality management reporting that we're submitting on a quarterly basis. You'll also see the fiscal year analysis across 5 years. At this time, I'll take any questions on the data that was submitted in advance for your review. I'm certainly willing to entertain and try to answer any questions I can. That's my
Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much, appreciate it. All right, Tom, you're jumping up Jack Rabbit.
Okay. All right, we're into tab 7, the spending plans. And we went through this through detail at the work session and discussed the general spending plan, which is the ongoing service delivery of our community providers and our regional centers, and the operation of the administration here. And went through some additional items that we got money for, which is basically the $9 million we received for the direct care worker pay increase from the $10.11 to $11 minimum salary, and then all other direct care workers got the 89-cent raise as well. And that money has been allocated out to our provider work network and to our regional center staff to, starting July 1, they got that money in their pay. And then we talked about the other capital needs, one-time needs in our system, and we had a projected budget expenditures of right at $681.7 million related to that spending plan. We talked about the revenue that we, and covering that $681 million, the revenue that we'll receive projected throughout the year of right at $683 million related to our state appropriated dollars, Medicaid earning power that we earn based on service delivered, and then some debt service funds that we have. So we're in balance with what we projected revenue to what we're projecting and paying out through our network. And then we went over the one-time monies that we have available based on what we carry forward, state funds to fiscal year 18, and projected some one-time funds that we project for 2018 that we received. So I asked for your approval of the spending plan related to the $681.7 million in ongoing expenditures in our budget, and then related to the $2.7 million in one-time money that we presented to you yesterday.
Motion, I have some,
Well, we still have that $3.5 million there and no expansion budgeted. We have that $3.5 million carryover and no expansion budgeted. We still there?
You're talking about on the revenue? Yeah, that's 1.7 of that $3.5 million is for expenditures that we're going to be paying out in fiscal year 18 that had not come in as of June 30th. So it's really 1.8 million that's in those two accounts that makes up that $3.5 million.
anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, so the other thing that was really unresolved yesterday, in my opinion, after the workshop, was this question of the self-directed care option funds. And it's my understanding that basically little amounts of this were happening for an extended period of time where on a cost benefits analysis, it wasn't worth pursuing it it just wasn't worth, it was happening occasionally that this was being paid, that the services weren't being provided, but it wasn't worth pursuing. But then suddenly it ballooned to where it was substantial. And I have a problem, and I've expressed this directly to the executive director following the workshop, and I'm just putting it on and I'm going to relate it to a legal principle that I deal with. You know, everything to me always comes back to being a lawyer. And there's a principle called latches. And basically what that says is, if something's going on for a long time and you don't complain about it, then when it turns into a problem, you kind of lose your right to complain about it. You lose your right to get redressed. And I do have a problem at this stage that it's existed, but we haven't done anything, and then suddenly we've got the problem. Now we're trying to pull back, in at least one case, a very substantial amount of money, and for a lot of providers, a good chunk of money, retroactively. That's what this is. It's going back and trying to grab money back that was already paid out. The second part of this is that we're working towards a conflict-free case management where you have case managers and you have providers of services. And this was what was happening in this case, that the case managers were sort of saying A should be done, and that wasn't giving to the providers that A should be done. That's my, is that correct analysis of
Some instances.
Some instances.
Okay. That's on the minority side. Majority would not be, but
okay.
so that's happened.
Okay. And this is an opportunity then for us, in my opinion. If we're working towards conflict-free case management, and that was happening, we need to make sure that we have better systems in place so that when we finally get to conflict-free case management, that we don't have this problem, because then it could add up to huge amounts of money. I mean, not that this is not a substantial chunk of money anyway. But my position on this right now, having looked at it, is with regard to anything going forward, now everybody's on alert, this can't happen anymore. But I have a problem with us going back and trying to grab this money back at this stage. Suddenly, I mean, it just, it's that latches thing, it just doesn't seem right. And the second thing is, I think we need to look at this and make sure we don't have this problem as we move into conflict-free case management. That there's somewhere the communication will happen, something wasn't happening that provider A didn't know what case manager A was saying. Those are my two observations with regard to that. And so I would say that personally, I'm not going to vote for the spending plan that has, the only part of the spending plan that I have an issue with right now is this recovery fund. I'm not going to vote for that. The motion to make, I'm just letting you know where I stand on this. It just doesn't work for me.
And we can pull that part out and, like you said, start with this fiscal year moving forward. And I understand that train of logic. Want to make sure that everybody understands that that means that that's $2 million we don't have in the bank for one-way settlement process with the HHS, and, that may come to roost later. So as long as, we're very open and transparent about that, but that is a potential.
Yeah, I think that's taking on, that's taking on ability, but I guess, you know what, honestly, I think that's our thing. I mean, I think that's the commission, this organization, at this level's thing. If we weren't enforcing it, if we didn't complain when it was $5, we can't complain when it's, and it may just not have been worth it at that stage. But if we didn't catch it, we didn't put the things in place to prevent it happening, we didn't realize it, communicate with it. I just have a problem.
And I do think this is, regardless of what the decision is, I do think that this is a really good example of the recommendation and the decision that you guys made back in June of looking at something different, because the fact that the boards function as the fiscal manager is why this is a problem. It's not a problem when it's not the boards. And so whatever the new system looks like, this was a perfect example of, you've already brought up conflict free, but even within part of that, kind of that fiscal management as the system becomes, I need to find a new word, but fractured. I can't think of another word, somebody help me. But where multiple entities are providing services for one individual as opposed to 30 years ago where it was one package did everything. Yep. So
yeah, I mean,
I think it's
again, let's get a mistake was made. It's a mistake that it's, again, I don't want to say $2 million, it's small, but relative scale to individual groups, it was small, individual persons, it was small. To prevent it from being 10 years from now, you guys are dealing with a huge problem because it wasn't.
I'm not a lawyer, and I didn't sleep in a Holiday Inn last night. I liken it more to the real estate business that I've been around my whole life. When you're squatting on property for 30 years, it's hard to get them kicked off. In my, the business side of me, the numbers side of what I do every day, I certainly understand our position. But I think I'm not supportive of this. As much as I know we can use the $2.5 million, I think it's a little bit too much punitive for me at this point in time. I think we're trying to talk about partnering with these providers and doing all the right things, and we've already just slapped them with a $500 fine if it ever happens, and now we're going to sit here and take back a big chunk of money from one of my favorite providers, which the history is there. I just don't think it's appropriate, and I too would not be able to support it given its current situation. Now, business-wise, do I think it's the right thing? Yes, it's the right thing for you as management to come to us with this reconciliation, but I think we have to have some notice involved so that they all know, right or wrong or indifferent. Doesn't really matter. I can argue both sides of that fence. I just struggle with that from a money standpoint. So I think it's up to this commission to do what's right. And if we have to deal with the ramifications down the road, we'll deal with the ramifications down the road. That's my opinion. And I'll be quiet.
Anybody else have an opinion or a thought?
I agree with what they said.
I do too. Would you like to make a motion that we remove this?
I would make a motion to approve the spending plan with the exception of the recovery funds associated with self-directed care options, removing that as part of the carry forward statement of benefits.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving forward, Chairman. Tab 8 is the budget request for 2019. We went through this thoroughly yesterday, and we went back yesterday afternoon and tried to articulate y'all's revisions to the plan for the new money that we're requesting for 2019. In this document here, you have for you. Hopefully, you have the new version in front of you.
This was handed out.
Yeah,
Put on your folder.
Oh,
It should have been in the visitor's packet so people can follow along.
All right, so we have 9 priorities. We rearranged one priority item from y'all's discussion, but I'll just walk through real quick. This first section is for recurring program needs in our system. For the 9 priorities that we identified. So first one is safety and quality care, workforce needs, $11.3 million related to 2 particular items. Increase the hourly wage, continue with that process of moving from $11 as the minimum hiring range for direct care workers to $12, and also any other direct care worker that's working in hands-on relationship would get a dollar raise as well if we get this $10 million to affect not only community providers with regional center folks as well, and then $1.3 million for compression and retention to keep the gap between longevity of people serving in this field for so long, as well as giving a little gap between those that are newly hired. So first priority is 11.3 million. Second priority is increase and improve access to in-house individual family support, residential supports by moving waiting list movement. So we're asking for this money again and moving waiting list. As you know, we didn't get any money for the current year to move the waiting list, so this will be a needed item as we push forward into next year, 2019. 9.5 million is the request in home supports for Haskell and individual waivers, 4.5 million for at home. Those are at home slots. Added another 700,000 for added waiver service needs for pest control in the Haskell waiver, and then increased the environmental mod, adaptive modification service in the ID waiver and community support waiver, double it from $7,500 to $15,000. It had been increased in 27 years. We have to work with HHS to make that happen in those waivers, to amend the waiver. Third is targeted residential and aging caregivers for about 100 beds, $2.3 million, and then targeted residential high management, $2 million for about 50 beds. Those very intense needs in our system to demand on our wait list. So,
Tom, if I may, I want to clarify on agenda item number 1. For the compression and retention, that would be beyond just the direct care staff, so that the providers have the flexibility within their organizational structure for those positions that aren't necessarily in the bucket of direct care staff, to do some equity. That we heard that loud and clear from the provider. So I just know when the narrative isn't in here yet because we were doing this last night, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that that was the intention.
Okay. Third priority is, we have a lot of discussion on this one, psychiatric intervention and stabilization of individuals, including telehealth, $1.8 million related to 3 items: psychiatric behavior sports, about 900,000, temporary residential for crisis stabilization, 400,000, and then TBI care for moving people out of our state to other institutions outside our state, about 500,000 needed for that. So total of $1.8 million for priority 3. Priority 4 was moved up. It was priority 6 or 7 or something last year. We moved it up to 4. Moved up to 4. Ensure compliance with CMS final rule regulations. $6.7 million related to individual employment and date supports of $5.1 million, and then CMS requirements for conflict-free case management, and the gap between moving from 70-30 match to 50-50 match, $1.6 million. That's totals up to the 6.7 for the priority 4. Priority 5 is boost the continued transition of individuals from institutional ICFs to community settings. $1.2 million for 25 to 28 individuals that would elect to move out to the community. Number 6 is community ICF ID provider rate increase, $1.5 million reflected there. 7, strengthen provider support oversight and system changes, $1.65 million for that, related to intake, training components and provider oversight, $1.6 million, and ensure statewide access to Gen X services prior to the 8. That's $500,000. And then TBI, post-acute, spinal cord, post-acute, moving that up from the base of 3.1, adding another 500,000 to that base, asking for that in priority 9. Total of those 9 money request priorities is $34.65 million in recurring funds. Then we also talked about one-time money, asking the General Assembly for one-time non-recurring funds for vehicles and building maintenance for our provider network, and put in a request there of $5 million for that initiative. So those are the 2 priorities: one recurring, $34.6 million, and then non-recurring for capital needs through our system, $5 million. That's the approval.
All right, we're having this discussion. The discussion, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No, no, not believe this, but.
Hold on, we got two more,
We got two more
pieces of the budget request.
Okay.
You have, Form E, which was the 3% reduction plan. We talked about this in the work session a little bit yesterday. And you guys basically said, adjust the numbers accordingly once the state gives us our final number, because we don't have it yet, but do the same thing you did last year. One thing that occurred to me when I was looking at this last night, preparing for today after the work session, I do want to point out that last year's plan, because we had not opened the non-emergency respite home yet, that was just, okay, if something bad happens, we're just going to take that offline. And so now we actually have that home open. Now we can stop, but the plan that you guys approved last year would completely discontinue that service. And I just wanted, we didn't talk about it yesterday, and I just wanted to make sure that that was understood and still the plan, or if you wanted us to adjust anything accordingly. Hopefully, the 3% reduction plan will not be needed, and this is an exercise, but, you know, I want to make sure that that was very open, since we didn't talk about that yesterday, but that was still the will of the commission.
Any discussion? You go bad with them.
Oh, okay.
We have thoughts of, think like I do.
I mean, the reality is we gotta take it from somewhere that is not emergency.
That is
I
not
mean,
emergency.
that's the
Yeah.
one. I mean, it's not a service that we want to just.
And I just wanted to make sure that that was
That's-
clear.
That's the one sort of optional, you know, that's not emergency, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's-
All right, then I'll need a vote.
That's my opinion, again, I welcome other thoughts.
Do I have a motion for that?
To approve the plan as last year, we will just update the numbers accordingly with the new number for the percentages.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
One more,
One more.
and then the Form E, which had to do with any budget, or any reductions or changes in fines, fees, legislative changes, at Form F. At the work session on yesterday, pretty much general consensus was, we're not gonna recommend anything, but I need you guys to vote on that.
I make a motion, there's a non-recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor?
You'll get those two all together.
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
That's what I need.
Okay, I didn't have that down on my list. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for coming today. We are gonna go into executive session to discuss the state director's performance evaluation.
We get a 10-minute break.
And we're gonna have about a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back. Thank you very much.